Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 9th of September. Today, I'd like to sort of kick off the week with a question for you, a statement and a question. So, I think probably all of us can agree that words are really important and the way we say things. So, if someone asks us a question about the way we feel about them, our spouse or our child or something, the words that we choose will make a huge impact. If my husband Rob says to me, "Do you love me?" I can say, "Yes, I love you," or I can say, "I'm awfully fond of you," or "You are adorable." But the response, the words that I choose will impact him in a certain way. Now with Rob, the whole "I love you" thing gets a bit weird because he's not a real demonstrative person that way, and he teases me that I always tell him how much I love him. But for me, talk about the love languages and things like that. For me to hear the words "I love you" is important. So recognizing not only the words we use, but how people will receive them and how we mean them is huge. Now, we cannot do anything about the way another person receives our words. How they receive what we have said is completely up to them. But we do have some responsibility for the words that we use, the words that we choose, and how we share them. So, well, we can't force someone else to receive what we're saying the way we intend them to hear it. We do have some responsibility about being careful about how we use it. So, thinking about choosing our words, what words do we, which words, how do we acknowledge that words are important? And which words can be used for help? Which words can be helped for education? Which words can be used for edification? And which words do we sometimes use that aren't helpful? Can you think of a time in your life when you have used words in a way that, the minute they come out of your mouth, you're like, oh, why did I just say that? That's totally horrible. I remember when I was in grade 4 at Central Elementary School in Listowel in Ontario, there was a young girl in our class named Tracy. And this is back in the days where you would be held back. Now, granted, this was also the days before we were talking about things like learning disabilities or autism or things like that. And Tracy was just, I think, her home situation and lots of things contributed to her not maybe learning at the same pace as the rest of the kids her own age. And so I was in grade 4 and Tracy was it so I'd be 9 or 10 years old, and Tracy was should have been in grade 6, but she was in grade 4. She'd been held back a couple of years. Well, what's the difference between a 10-year-old girl and a 12-year-old girl? Well, you can use your imagination. Quite often there's a big difference. And Tracy was living in a world with people who were not her own age. They were much younger, a lot more immature, and she was very different than we were. And every day at school, Tracy would be picked on. She was teased. Horrible people would say horrible things to her. And I used to stand up for her. I would be like, don't say things like that. And one day, I don't know what happened. It was a bad day. And I just got frustrated. And it was raining outside, so we couldn't go outside for recess. So we're hanging out in the classroom. And just as recess was about to end, I said something nasty about Tracy, not to her face, which doesn't make it right, but I said something nasty, something I'd never said before. And the moment it came out of my mouth was like, I can't believe I said that. The words I used were awful. And just as I said them, Mr. Bender, our teacher, came walking back in the door, and guess who got in trouble? I had to write dictionary pages. That was his punishment. Had detention for half an hour after school. So then you had to, and none of us took buses. We all walked or rode our bikes. So it's not like we missed our bus, but I had to go home late, and that was devastating because that was the day my grandparents were coming for the weekend, and I wasn't going to see them right away. And I'd have to explain why I was half an hour late on a rainy day when I definitely wasn't going to play outside. Um, but also I'd write 3 pages of dictionary. So Mr. Bender would give us a random page and like say page 146, 47, and 48 of the dictionary. And it wasn't like our little pocket dictionary. It was the big, like, big dictionary they had in school that was like this big and this tall. And I had to write those out for the next day. Um, and it was a good lesson because the writing out was all about words. I learned all kinds of words I didn't know, and 3 pages worth, and all of the jots and tittles that go with it, and the semicolons and the how to pronounce things. I had to write it out verbatim, exactly as it was written. But it taught me to pay attention to words, in particular, how words are received. I don't know whether Tracy heard what I said that day, but I know that what I said was awful. And, 43 years later, I still feel the twinge of how could I say that? How would I say it to any human being, let alone to a beautiful, beautiful young person who was just trying her best to be the best person she could be, given the circumstances she was living in? The words that we choose make a huge difference. Words that we choose to think about other people. The words we choose to think about ourselves. Thinking right now about all the words that are being used in the news and the campaigns about the politics in the States and up here in Canada as well. We are not very generous with our words, are we? And maybe we need to stop that. Maybe we need to start slowing down and thinking about what exactly is it I'm trying to say and choose the right word. Choose the right word. What words would be good for you to use? How about tolerance, acceptance, love, hope, joy, peace, laughter? These are all words that when we speak them, we can actually start to smile as we speak them because they bring something good into the world. As you go about your day and as you go about your week, I invite you to choose a word for your day or a word for your week. What word might you want to use today or throughout the week to help keep you on the right path, to share with other people, to help them to see something beautiful in life? I think my word for this week is going to be love and joy. I am this week up in the PA and I'm doing my confirmation tour. So this is recorded ahead of time. And if you're seeing this, it means you've already either subscribed or I've managed to find good internet access to upload it onto Facebook. But the love and joy are words I think I'm going to be using all this week. If you can't think of one, maybe use the word snuffleupagus. Remember Snuffleupagus? He was Big Bird's invisible friend, or the friend that nobody really believed because Mr. Big Bird was the only one who could see him on Sesame Street. But pick a word that makes you smile. Pick a word that makes you feel good, that when you say it or when you read it, write it on a piece of paper and stick it on your mirror. That this week you recognize that words make a difference, beginning with yourself. What word would you say to yourself? What word would you give to yourself that you can then give to other people? Love, joy, snuffleupagus. Pick wisely, choose wisely, folks, and have a great day, and God bless. And don't forget, snuffleupagus was real.